Hello and welcome to the Going Famous Media podcast. I'm your host, Zachary Mavrakis, and joined with me today is York United goalkeeper Niko Giantsopoulos. Niko, how are you doing today?
I'm good, Zachary. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well myself. Thank you for coming on to the show.
Oh, of course, I'm happy. Reoccurring guest.
Yes.
I must have done something right the first time.
Yes, you did amazing the first time. Let's get into the questions. At what moment did you realize you had the potential to become a professional soccer player?
Yeah, probably a lot later than most players, I would say. It wasn't until maybe my first or second year in university. The only reason why I say that is because growing up, I wasn't really the star player of my age group and stuff like that. So when I hit college, I don't know what happened, whether, I grew or something, but things just started clicking for me. And I started having a lot of success on the field. Previously, I always had success with my teams, but I felt in college, I started to have success not only with my team, but now individually. And then I think that was kind of the first time where I'm like, okay, it could be realistic now for me to consider a professional career.
So you said it took 2 years in college. Were you leaning towards focusing on your studies and going through a different path, or ultimately it led to your professional career?
No, definitely. I mean, the whole reason why I ended up going to school and university was, for one, to try to get my parents to save some money. But, to continue my soccer career, have fun, but very much I was serious about my studies. I was studying criminal justice with a minor in communications, actually. So I was, if nothing came up, I was prepared to at least go into the real world and start my career. So, yeah, after that, that's kind of where my mindset, I guess, changed.
Amazing. So who was your favorite team growing up, and which player did you aspire to play like?
I never really stuck with a team. I was always a fan of soccer, enjoyed watching it. Um, but I never had a team. I don't know if it wasn't because I just didn't have a connection because, with hockey and basketball, I have my teams. Like I support the Toronto Raptors, and hockey, I support the Leafs. But, it's my
Right.
hometown team. I just felt like I had that connection. The only team that I honestly felt the connection was Real Madrid, but that was only because at the time I loved watching Iker Casillas. And he was obviously he was at the prime of his career. He was making all these unbelievable saves, and I just used to always watch his highlight videos on YouTube. I would never really watch the game because back then it was a lot more difficult, to watch the Spanish games. They weren't as frequently on TV, so I would just watch YouTube videos of him and stuff like that. So that was the player I looked up to. But as for a club, I never really really felt connected to one. So I just enjoyed watching good soccer.
Right. And he's a world-class goalkeeper. He's an
Oh,
icon now on FIFA as well. So amazing stuff. Now, as you said before, college in the United States, now you're moving to Australia after your studies. What sort of mental and physical process were you going through at that time? And what were the hardships that you had to overcome leaving everything behind to play for a club overseas?
yeah. Well, I'll start with the first part of physically. I know that final year going into my college season, we had some discussions with my coaches and stuff like that there. I'm like, hey, like, I think that we want to tackle this head on. We want to attempt to try to make it to the professional level. So we created like a pretty strict plan, and then we had the previous years of doing everything we can to make sure I was physically ready, for the next level. That entailed extra practices, with like the goalkeeper coach, but also the assistant coach there. We worked on my distribution a lot. And then in the gym, I was much more frequent in the gym, and probably a more detailed workout plan that we had that I was following all that year in hopes of putting some muscle on, getting strong, and then really, working on my craft on individual things that I thought I wanted to get better before making the jump to the professional level. The mental side of it, to be honest, not much. When I found out I was
Really?
going to Australia, there was everything that I wanted. So I was like, okay, like I want to do that. It was fun to me. I was excited. I didn't feel like I was leaving a bunch of things at home. I knew I had the support of my friends and family, and I was going to chase a childhood dream. And it took me to the other side of the world. So I was also excited. live in a different place, to experience a new culture, to travel. I didn't do too much traveling, besides like moving around in the States and stuff like that. I
Right.
never really got to see another continent or stuff like that. So all of that, I was excited. So from a mental standpoint, I couldn't wait to sign and really start that. So the quickest way I could get there is kind of the path I chose.
Definitely a beautiful country you chose to go to as well.
Oh, I couldn't complain. The warmer weather was something that was always on my bucket list as well.
For sure. And we'll fast forward a little bit. You moved to Cavalry FC. What was it like playing for that sort of team? And then ultimately, you moved back home to a hometown team, York United FC. What does that mean to you to represent your hometown?
Yeah, I mean, for one, coming back to Canada, like you said, coming to Calgary was something very special. I couldn't have landed, in my opinion, a better organization. Like I loved my time there, Calgary. The staff there with Tommy, Martin Nash, who obviously now is my coach here, but weekends that later. But and the goalkeeper coach Jordan Santiago. I just loved my experience there. I knew some players that were there as well, so that made the transition a bit easier. And obviously to be a part of that, the first inaugural season, that was something I wanted to do. So that was a great experience. I loved my time there. But then again, your contract ran up, and then I was started speaking with York United here. Obviously, being from the area, so that's intriguing. It was kind of nice to bring what was really a 8-year journey, or I guess 7.5-year journey of being away from York region. And then finally get a chance, not established, but I guess more established in a career that I've kind of been grinding with, and now be able to share that with like my parents, my family, my friends even. So it was really it wasn't a tough decision, and yeah, I mean, it meant a lot just to be able to do that. Was exciting, and yeah, so happy to be here for now.
Glad to hear and glad to have you back. I mean, it must be amazing that you can have the support of your family so close by, but it does kind of suck that we're in a pandemic and we can't have fans in the stadiums. And speaking about the pandemic, the rising numbers of COVID-19, especially within Ontario, it's craziness. How would this impact your training or the upcoming season ahead?
Like I said, off camera, last time we spoke, I was in a lockdown, and
Right.
now, Toronto's in a lockdown again. Definitely though, I'm in a much more fortunate position I mean, to be honest, I just think, the city has learned how to do a lockdown a bit better, and, there's exemptions in place for certain things. So, to be honest, my off season now has been very good. Probably one of the best off seasons I've been able to have, mostly because I am from this area, so I do have a
Right.
lot more connections, or I know more people here, so I have more access to facilities and training places and stuff. I'm more familiar with the area, and luckily this lockdown hasn't affected it to the extent where I'm not able to do those things. So there's still a couple hoops that I need to jump through, but it's not restraining me from getting the training done that I want to do. So it's been good. I'm in a fortunate position, and the preseason's right around the corner. So I'm happy with how my off season has been going, and continues to go for the next few weeks.
Amazing. Moving on to the second segment of the show, it's virtual or reality. This is talking about your FIFA card. Now, Nico, sadly, EA Sports doesn't have licensing for the Canadian Premier League or York United. So over here, we're going to have to prioritize and change up the things for this. We're going to have you create your own card.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. So for the goalkeeper, stats are a little bit different than an outfield player, of course. You're not scoring goals, you're saving them. So I want you from a number between 1 and 99 to give me for diving. How's your diving skills in the net?
Diving. Anything that's going to have to do with shot stopping is going to have to be up there. I'm going to try to do this realistic. I'm also not familiar with what other goalkeepers are ranked. I'm not a FIFA player on the video games, but I'm going to say I am a 79, which might seem low, but I mean, I'm assuming in the world game, that's a reasonable score. So that's on the high.
Very, very generous. Very generous. I'll tell you that.
Perfect. 79.
How about the next stat? It's handling. So how do you handle the ball, controlling the ball? How do you think with your hands?
Yeah, so I mean, I guess that means how many times do I catch or punch or parry? Let's go with like again a solid 74.
Okay, you're being very generous right now.
You know,
And kicking, I see you do a lot of leg workouts. So on your Instagram. So let's see about kicking. What stat are you giving kicking?
kicking. Yeah, you're right. I have been in the gym. I think I could boot the ball, hopefully a lot farther. Let's go with a solid 75 on that one as well.
Okay, very nice. And reflexes, I see you're like a cat in net. So
Yeah,
what stat are you giving this?
I'm pushing this one. I'm gonna go 89. I gotta get,
I agree.
plus. It's like school, I'm always, you can get your low 70s, maybe a 60 in there, but you just need that one A plus. And
To balance everything out.
exactly.
And okay, so this kind of relates to reflexes and it translates speed. What sort of speed are you giving yourself?
I've been told that I'm a fast goalkeeper, and I've been told by players that well, you're fast. So that's on the higher end for goalkeepers. So I'm gonna say like 80.
80.
Yeah,
Okay, that's a pretty high stat for goalkeepers. FIFA usually gives like 50 or so roughly for each keeper, but I believe in it. I believe that 80 is solid.
I'm quick.
And of course, this is your position, but positioning in the net, what would you give yourself?
I mean, I feel like I got to be high on this one as well because I am not the biggest goalie, and with that, the way you make up for that is having great positioning. So if my positioning wasn't good, I probably wouldn't be in the position that I am right now. So I will give that an 81.
Okay, 81. And can you explain why positioning is so important as a goalkeeper?
Yeah, I mean, when the shot is kicked, it could be broken down as simple as this. When where the shot is taken, depending where we stand where we're standing at that point, if you're in the right position, then you could minimize or be efficient with your footwork to make that save. Whereas if you're not super hyper focused on your position, these like 6'5", super long keepers, it's a game of inches really, if not centimeters for goalkeepers.
Right.
So if they're, maybe, 3 inches off, but they could bail themselves out by, being much bigger. So as a shorter goalkeeper, those fine details of standing and correlation to wherever the ball is on the field. In my opinion, it's actually probably the most important part of goalkeeping, and that's probably why people think goalkeepers only get better with age. It's just
Right. And
knowing where to be.
especially for set pieces like free kicks outside the box and whatnot, like you do have to determine on, it's like math almost. It's like just to see which way he's going, how you're diving and whatnot. So positioning is a very important stat. And now, since you explained all your stats, what sort of number overall wise from 1 to 99, what are you giving yourself?
1 to 99. I mean, based on those averages there, I had the high 89 on the high end, and then I think I had a 70 on the low end. So I think going with a 77 is a fair place to go. And then with hopes of getting to that 80, but 77 was basically my average in school, anyways. So that kind of makes sense. So,
There you go. Amazing, amazing. Now moving on to the final segment. This is rapid round. This is where I'll ask you 10 questions and it'll be this or that. So you're going to choose between the two and you have to answer within seconds. Are you ready, Niko?
I'm ready.
All right, let's go. The United States or Australia?
Australia.
NFTs or cryptocurrency?
NFTs. I own one.
Greece or Macedonia?
Macedonia.
Audio podcast or visual podcast?
Visual podcasts.
Well, you're on one right now. Card games or board games?
Card games.
Christmas or Easter?
Christmas.
I know you talked about this one. Iker Casillas or Petr Cech?
Casillas.
Flights or road trips?
Oh, if you got a good crew, road trips.
Number 22 or number 1?
Number 1,
Coffee or tea?
coffee.
That is all the time we have, Nico. Thank you so much for coming on to the podcast. I truly appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem, Zachary. Anytime.
We'll talk soon.
Hey, you. Thank you so much for watching the video. If you could like, comment, share, and subscribe, that would be greatly appreciated. And I can't wait to see you next time.